our very good, colleagues that have been trying to tell us the truth about Ukraine have actually created a monopoly around that topic, and this is what I want to touch on really quickly. This is Good for Thought. I am your host. You know what it is. Let's get it, man.
Good for thought.
What up, all my Nazarenes? It's really good. I apologize for this view. I just wanted to make sure that I record this video because there's a lot been going on. So all the shout outs and everything's at the end of the video. But I think that this video is extremely important. We haven't been touching on the subject of Ukraine, and obviously I want to touch on it and clear the air on some key issues. So what am I talking about? I've been seeing a lot that obviously ever since the conflict broke out full scale in 2022, what Russia calls special military operation, what Ukraine calls the war, obviously we were very suppressed in the information that we are getting in the West, and then it was a breath of fresh air when people like a Jeffrey Sachs or a Scott Ritter or a Douglas McGregor, even Tucker Carlson started to come out and kind of try to tell us, a different point of view, or what they think is the true, and which me being from Western Ukraine and always being directly in touch with Ukraine, is I can say sure they've been speaking a lot of the truth. But what I've noticed is that even them, even though they're screaming and they're fighting per se against a mainstream media, they have monopolized this subject of Ukraine. And what I mean by that is because I've tried reaching out. Now, we had a lot of great people talking about this subject on the Prove to Me They're Alive podcast, and I tried to reach out to people like Scott Ritter, to Jeffrey Sachs, and some of you may scream and say, well, look, we're not as big as yet. Listen, we do have direct context to those people. We have had, as you guys know, people as big and as impactful as these people, if not more big and impactful. But I'm not the one that's trying to, get to a Tucker Carlson or get to a Jeffrey Sachs. That's not the point. The reason I was reaching out to them is because I think people like Snezhana Yegorova, who we had on the Prove to Me They're Alive podcast, who's a great friend, that she directly was connected to Zelensky. She brought him into show business. She knows the near circles of Zelensky. She knows everything that's going on in there. And the other person is Nikolai Petichenko, is a journalist that has on paper over 2,000 cases connected to some of the biggest names in the political corruption arena in Ukraine. So when I was reaching out to these people is me, not trying to be the speaker, even though I have a lot to say myself, because again, I'm from Western Ukraine, but more to get these people to present to people everything that they know, because they know a lot more than all of these commentators and speculators of what is actually going on. And it's one thing that we want to spread the message, but here's the reason why I'm making this video and why this is very important. You can argue all you want about what really happened in Ukraine, whose fault it really is. And for a lot of people turned their back even on someone like me when I started to speak out, meaning Ukrainians, they start to get embarrassed. They can't believe that I say those sort of things. Even if a lot of them agree with me, they say, well, why are you bringing the crap outside of the household, so to speak? And this is why I think it's so important to get a person like Nikolai Petichenko, the most renowned Ukrainian journalist, and Snezhana Yegorova, a person that basically ran the Ukrainian media, to get their message, me being a moderator in this, but to get their message to as many people as possible in the English-speaking world. Why? Because of this reason. This is what I'm saying. This is what I've been trying to say ever since the Maidan, call it a revolution, call it a coup, happened back in 2014. This is why I have been vocal since then, and something that I'm trying to stress to all of you people in the West, to all you English people in the West, that the point is that Ukraine, ever since its inception, and I won't even go into the, the times in the Soviet Union and Ukraine being a republic, in the greater Soviet Union. I'm talking about 1991 and hence, because I lived it, because my family has lived it, because it was the reason why we packed up and moved. No one in their right mind would want to just, leave their country, is because Ukraine since its recent, independent inception, birth, call it whatever you want, has been extremely corrupt. People have been robbed clean. People have been suffering. And right now, I've been stressing this. The reason why there are about 50,000 people just on a small little border between Ukraine and Romania trying to illegally leave is not because these men are scared. Slavs are ready to fight at any time. It's sad to say, but they are. Is because people know that even in such a crazy time like the war, all these, political elites, they've been doing nothing but robbing people clean. Some statistics came back that all of those, money that were raised and drones that were supposedly, had to be bought and everything, 90% of all those funds were just clearly stolen. You understand? It's such corruption that it's sickening, and because of that corruption, the average Ukrainian, call it whatever, Eastern Ukrainian, Russian, what have you, are suffering, man. And this is why it's so crucial for our voices to get out there, because while these, commentators like a Scott Ritter and a Jeffrey Sachs, thanks to them that they are speaking about this, they're missing a great point. And because they're looking at it from, strictly a geopolitical spectrum, that they're missing this huge point that the people are suffering and have been suffering under every single presidency, or call it regime or whatever, until it got so bad that a conflict broke out. And during that conflict, some horrendous things are happening. Horrendous things like, by the thousands, there are people missing. And because the government needs to pay the families of the fallen soldiers, they just count them as, missing, because they don't want to pay people. I mean, horrendous things, the Ukrainian side not wanting to pick up the bodies and so on and so forth, while the situation on the battlefield couldn't be worse. I mean, it's a meat grinder, right? And people are suffering. There's a great video, and I'm gonna link it in the description, of a young man. He's a famous YouTuber in Ukraine, meaning he has 1 million and more subscribers. He used to make content about pedos, about child abusers, let's say, right? Child sexual predators. Basically, he would set up these situations where he would catch these child predators. But then, when he started to see everything that's going on with the Titsaka meaning those, people that the army people that grab, men on the streets, he recorded couple of secret videos about how they actually operate. That's one thing. But he did another thing. He's originally from Luhansk, but he lived in Odessa. So what he did is he traveled to Lviv, or call it Lvov, or whatever, to Western Ukraine. We consider it as a capital of cultural Western Ukraine. He traveled to Western Ukraine. He recorded a video about speaking Russian in Lviv. Video was good. He did not badmouth anyone. He actually showed that more people don't care if you speak Russian. But anyway, you know, the Ukrainian political party got so mad, and all these propagandists, you know, got so mad that they sent out actual headhunters after this young man. And what they did is they did, you know, some crazy thing is they sent him a package in Odessa, right? So the young man comes home one day, he goes to his mailbox, he picks up a package, he doesn't, you know, he wasn't expecting a package, but who knows, it's in his mailbox. He picks it up, he gets home. In about 10 minutes, he gets a knock on the door. Men rush in. They're claiming that they are, you know, special forces, that they are, you know, SBU or whatever, or that they are the police. And they're saying, look, you're selling drugs. And what they do is they won't even call it a confiscate, $100,000 that this young man had in his house, $100,000 that for a YouTuber in Ukraine, it took him years and years of hard work to make that money. They take that money, right? So the young man, the YouTuber, he gets mad. So he starts to investigate more of the corruption. Now he's in the loop because it happened to him. As he realizes, I mean, every Ukrainian knows how bad the corruption is, but you know, people still live their lives. They're not in tune with it as much. Now the man became, you know, head first, connected to everything that's going on actually with the corruption. He started, you know, doing investigations, and what he came up with is unimaginable corruption to the point which, again, someone can walk in your house, take your hard-earned money, you're not going to be able to do nothing about it. So what this young man finally did is, you know, he ran from Ukraine, and he ran through the Romanian border, and he recorded a video about his journey. It's an hour-and-a-half video, and you know, he went through a life-threatening journey. He could have died. He had to swim through a river. He was, you know, around some gangsters and everything, and there's whole systems. So basically the way it works is you can pay to get out of Ukraine. We all know this, right? So $7,000 is you know, they will leave you somewhere near the forest and you walk across the mountains. A lot of people do that. $8,000 they leave you near a river, and $10,000 is they will get you through the river. Well, you know, the people that he got hooked up with, he paid $10,000 for him and his friend, you know, $20,000, and they got him to the river, never got him through the river. It was him, his friend, and two other guys. One of the guys might have died as they were crossing. So he made this hour-and-a-half video about his journey. This young man, he's in his mid-20s. He's running from a country that is a prison. And the sad thing is when he gets on the Romanian border, he gets picked up by the, you know, Romanian police. It's a procedure because they have people coming through that little tiny portion of the border every single day. So they already set up, you know, like a separate facility for them, and they pick them up and they take them and they process them, right? Right? So as they're driving in a car, now he's a YouTuber that built, you know, a channel with more than 1 million subscribers. You know, he's very well known in the Russian speaking world. He's sitting in the back of the cop car, and he keeps asking the cops, are you guys really going to process us? Will you not deport us? You can see that he still cannot believe that he made it. So as he's finally at this processing center, it turns out that 30 more guys crossed that little portion. It's a little portion of the border, Romanian-Ukrainian border. It's in western Ukraine. That one day, 30 guys came, and these are different guys, ex-soldiers and you know, and businessmen and all kinds of people. And what I'm leaning to is that this is happening every single day. It is estimated that perhaps somewhere around 50,000 people might have already died trying to cross the border into another country. Died from natural, you know, disaster thing, died from being shot, died from exhaustion, died from any, you know, many different things. The estimated number of how many men tried to cross and have perished is unimaginable. So that goes back to my original point. To all of you out there that are trying to monopolize, and huge shout out to David Payne, because he's one of these commentators that actually came to our channel and spoke out. But the rest of you that are trying to monopolize this subject from like this conservative look at Russia and at the situation in Ukraine, you are missing one great point. That the reason that we are doing this, the reason that the Ukrainians that are speaking up against the regime, that are speaking up against the special foreign forces that even constructed this whole conflict is we're doing it because of the people, because we know how much the people have suffered, because our families have suffered, our friends are still suffering, and this is why we do it. I'll just end it with this, that you see, as far as world history is concerned, the West, what we call the global West, is the only part of the world that has always competed for not only resources or power or money or whatever. Mostly the West has competed for the ideology, for the the worldwide global ideology. If we look at such civilizations as the Chinese or Indian, they have always kind of kept doing their thing. They never competed on the global scale. Even the Arabic civilization, the only time that they really started to compete for any kind of ideology, global ideology, is actually when they were let into the West, modern Europe, right? It is when the Europeans have picked up the Arabic Islamic ideology and are kind of bringing it to this world, this world stage. Now, when I say Western, when I say European, again, I must remind everyone, I'm not talking about the population. I'm not talking about the average guy. I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about those monarchical, dynasties that are rooted back to, Khazaria, and they've implemented themselves into this Anglo-Saxon world. They are the ones that are competing for the ideology of the world. And you see Slavo-Russos, what we call Slavic Russians or Russian Slavs, we just like any other indigenous people of the world, we minded our own business a lot of time, as far as competing for the world ideology, until it came to us. And what I mean by that is that drastically shifted in Russia's history when the Romanov clan, the Romanov family, came from Prussia, from Bavaria, and the monarchies were no longer Russian. And when Peter the First, there's a saying, "Zlamal okno v Европу," meaning broke a window into Europe, is when the same, the same families, the same monarchies started to compete for the world ideologies amongst themselves. And I'm getting ready to make and release a very important video showing by evidence how that power structure has not changed even until our days. So as far as this worldwide ideology, it's always been the job of those, like I said, clans and dynasties and families. Why? Because they always needed to create an ideology, a philosophy, or even a religion to have rules and ethics in this global playing field. Because, as I say, indigenous people, the Slavo-Russos, they had something called conscience. That's why they needed no philosophy. They needed no religious basis to know what is right and what is wrong. And on top of that, it's something that's been ridiculed for a long time, and there's so many evidence. And again, I'm going to show you all these evidence that the Slavo-Russo culture which competed against civilization. Culture, by the way, can also be very technologically advanced, but the advanced technologies are not destructive, and that's the difference between culture and civilization. Anyway, I don't want to touch on that too deeply here, but the evidence, and trust me, I've spent many decades on studying this from every single aspect, is that the Russo-Slavic culture is a lot older than the world history is presenting us with. And I think it's this threat to these Western power structure is that there's a fight for the global white man, and I mean white man as an ideology, because these clans, these power structures, it's very finicky of how white they actually are, and on the contrary, that's why they are that's why they started this whole thing about hating the white man in the West, right? But they don't want the Russo-Slavic man to take this position of a global white man that is actually just, and has conscience and has ethics and morals, and can show this example to the rest of the world, where look, we don't have to enslave you, we don't have to colonize you, we can live under the same roof, we can respect one another's civilizations or cultures, and we can prosper by not butting heads. And I think that those power structures, that's the biggest threat. But I've been saying this for a long time, is now we're seeing, not only according to prophecies, but we're seeing that these power structures are coming to an end. And this is why we're getting bombarded with, all these conflicts and all these liberals and conservatives, and everybody's fighting, and an immigration, and then Three-Eye Atlas, and all of these different things. I don't want to throw everything under one basket, but it is under one basket. That's why we're being bombarded with all of this. And if you don't want to think about it from the mythical, some kind of a spiritual, that it's a prophecy, think of it from a standpoint of that these clans, these dynasties, they have always passed down the power, down generations, and now they have come to a generation that are either genetically not as strong, or they no longer want to participate in this world domination. So they know that they are on their way out, and this is why all of this crazy talk about possible nuclear war and aliens about to take over, and every day it's something new, is because they are truly on their way out. So what they want to do is they want to get as much riches, as much comfort for themselves as possible, while leaving as much destruction and as much mayhem amongst us as possible, and trying to make sure that white Slavo-Russian doesn't take that position of a white man, because that Slavo-Russian can remind the Irish, the Scottish, all these different peoples that look, at one point, we were one people. At some point, we got divided, and we started to bicker amongst ourselves, and you, the Western white man, have fallen to the rule of an enemy, and you got so used to you being ruled by a monarchy that you are still depending on some type of a government. And that's another huge difference between the Slavo Russos, is that we're freaking nuts, man. We never want to be under some sort of a system. We can snap at any time, man. That's why we're so dangerous. That's why this channel is so dangerous. That's why our TikTok channel, what do you think, Nas, with almost 6,000 followers, was just blocked, whatever, banned. They don't even give a good reason, and we haven't even put out anything crazy out there. But that's how we know we are on the right path. I will listen to my brother Jim Dillinger. Jim Dillinger wrote me and said what I'm about to say. Algorithm, please stop blocking us. Please, our message is very important. Algorithm, if you can hear me, please stop blocking us. Our message is more important. And then while you at it, stop blocking such people as Jim Dillinger, also algorithm. So there, Jim Dillinger wrote me, told me, look, you should try this. Try to tell the algorithm straight up, stop blocking us. So that's what I'm trying to do. To the rest of y'all, I cannot thank you enough for still being with us, so for still hanging in there. As y'all can see, we have had some amazing guests. We are going to continue to have amazing guests back on. My brother Jim Dillinger, I'm waiting for you to come back. I'm sorry we kind of lost touch. A lot of stuff that what's been going on with Alan Tate, we need to see all of that through. Huge shout out to my boy, obviously, David Voronyuk, Romaniya poet, the greatest poet of all time. You need to go get them books, man. And also, you guys, we launched a clothing store. It's called uwise.com, uwyze.com, and we're making ethical clothes with meaning when you're going to wear something, it will inspire thought, it will inspire an idea, and whoever sees it, you know, it will inspire them to think further than seeing you just, you know, for your flesh and bone, and also for looking at the world at a different way and trying to again bring back ethical fashion. So go check out some of these amazing t-shirts and hats and hoodies and sweatshirts. Romaniya Poet line is there too. So I love all of you. My bad if I didn't shout you out, but I will see y'all soon, man. A lot of stuff coming for Solivate, for Good for Thought, for Putin Media Live. Obviously, I told y'all before that we're gonna move all these different shows and podcasts to their new home. Maybe the algorithm will start working again. So again, I love all of y'all. My bad if this was for too long, and I'll see y'all on the rebound. You know what we say.